sentence by sentence, so it will be easier for everyone. Okay, so let's start right now.
안녕하세요. 여러분은 문화생활을 자주 해요?
Okay, so let's go with those first two sentences. 안녕, Mimi. How are you doing today? Thank you so much for taking the time to be here. So let's repeat those two sentences together. 여러분, 안녕하세요. 여러분은 문화 생활을 자주 해요? So let's translate everything together. Good and you? I'm good. Thank you for asking. So you have 여러분. You guys probably know. 2 sentences in and I'm already struggling. Yeah, I think we will be struggling a lot in those 2 Korean podcasts, okay? But we can do this, okay? This is a big challenge that we can overcome together, because even for me, I'm a little bit scared because I have no clue what this podcast is about, so I might struggle with you guys as well. So let's start with 여러분. Does any of you guys remember the meaning of 여러분? So if you guys are familiar with my Korean study live stream, you guys know that I say 여러분 a lot of times. So comment down below if you guys know the meaning behind 여러분. Comment down below if you know the meaning of 여러분. Hi, hello, thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing? So comment down below what is the meaning of 여러분. I'm gonna give you a few seconds to comment down below what 여러분 is. So this is probably one of the easiest words, right, in those 2 sentences. So comment down below if you guys know what 여러분 means. I'm gonna give you the answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Okay, so you guys are correct. 여러분 can be translated to either guys or everyone. So when you want to include everyone and you are talking to them, right? You are talking to a group of people or something, you can use 여러분. 안녕하세요. 안녕하세요 is hello. You guys are probably already aware of this word, right? 안녕하세요. So hello everyone. Now let's jump to the second sentence, which is slightly harder, right? than the first sentence. So we have once again 여러분은. So in this case, you already know one word, right? So this one once again is guys or everyone. So we know that she is talking to us. She is either asking us questions or telling us something. So here in this case, we have 문화 생활을. Okay, 문화. Does any of you guys know what 문화 would mean? Comment down below if you guys know just by itself 문화. What does that mean? Thank you so much for the follow. Thank you. So what does 문화 mean? Comment down below if you guys know the meaning of this word. So comment down below just this part of the word. What does that mean? Okay, so comment down below 문화, what does that mean? And also if you are not sure what is the meaning of the word, you can still try and guess, okay? It is okay to make mistakes. We are here to learn. So comment down below, even if you are shy, what you think 문화 on itself mean. I'm gonna give you the answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you guys are correct. I see a lot of great answers. So you guys, 문화 means culture. Okay, so we know that it is something that is related to culture. We have 생활을. So 생활, apparently I didn't know about that, but together it becomes cultural life. So I'm not even sure in English what that exactly means, cultural life. If you guys know, like, are you living in your culture? Maybe that is what that would mean. I'm not quite sure. But here, just right here, cultural life. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe it's also saying like you not introduce, but you know, culture is a big part of your life. Maybe that can also be another way to translate that word. I don't think there is a specific word, the lifestyle of the culture. Okay, yeah, that might be correct. I'm not quite sure, but you might be correct about that. Did you learn these words? So like I mentioned, this podcast is my first time that I see it, so I'm not familiar with all the words. I just know that it was the name of the podcast, so that is why I know what this word means, but it is my first time seeing that word today as well. We have tattoo. So tattoo is a word that we have seen multiple times before. Okay, thank you. You're welcome. So this is actually the first time that I do intermediate podcast with you guys. So let's see how it goes today. Hopefully it won't get too hard. So we have tattoo. Does any of you guys remember what tattoo would mean? So we have seen some words that are very, very similar to that one. However, I'm not sure we have seen this version of it I was gonna say the answer. But yes, it is a frequency of word. You are correct. So comment down below if you guys know, right, what 자주 would mean. It is a word of frequency. So you have a couple of choices in the frequency timeline, I guess. So I'm gonna give you the answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you guys were correct. You're doing amazingly right now. A lot of great answers. Thank you so much for the follow. Thank you, thank you. So you guys are correct. 자주 means often. So it is a word of frequency. So it is not, I would say it's like, if you have the timestamp of like the frequency, I would say like 자주, which is often, is maybe at like 3/4, right? It's not always. It's not like half of the time. It's like in between half of the time and always. So that can be another way that you can remember 자주. So it is like a 3/4 of the level of frequency word. I just invented that, okay? So you take or not what I say. Thank you so much for the follow. Thank you, thank you. And then we have 해요, which is from the verb 하다. So this is from the verb 하다, okay, conjugated. So together it becomes like everyone. Do you do often? Or maybe it's more like because here it says like, do you often have a cultural life? But I'm not sure that that would be like the most accurate translation to that one. So let's put it more like, is it, I'm not sure how to formulate it in English, but it would be more like, is this like something that you do often, right? That is like a big part of your life. That can be like another way that you can translate that, not literally word by word, more like cultural activities. Okay, so in this case, it would be more like cultural activities. What could we include in cultural activities? But let me just see, just to make sure, 문화 생활을, on Naver Dictionary. Let's just see, 문화 생활. Wait, I think 문화, I wrote it 2 times. 생활. This is a very complicated word. Okay, I will have it. 생활. Why does it say cultural life? Modern living. Oh, sorry, I'm not showing you guys. Modern living. This doesn't help me any further. Cultural life, but what does that even mean, cultural life? Enjoy culture? No cultural life? I'm very not sure. Maybe like festivals are different culture? That is a great question. I'm very not sure why I decided to pick this. I thought it would just be like explaining about Korean culture, but enjoy culture? Because separated, it means something, but okay, so let's continue. We might be able to figure it out better. What 문화 생활 would mean together, right? Sometimes it's always like that. I try to find the answer to something and then she explains after. So let's start with the rest and then we will see if it makes more sense along the way. Thank you so much for being patient with me today. I feel like this one is going to be very difficult. Okay, so let's jump to the next sentence. I know that 취미 생활 means hobby, activities. Yes, 취미 would mean hobbies. So yes, maybe on its own, like 생활. Let me just double check if it... So, yes, it's about life, lifestyle. Oh, so it is kind of a lifestyle of culture. Is that what that would mean? Because here it doesn't mention like activities. 생활. Unless I'm not writing it correctly. No, I did. Maybe let's see on Papago just to make sure. Yeah, here it means activities, so I'm not sure. Cultural activities, that might be correct actually. like having a lifestyle, daily life that explore cultural things. Yeah, maybe that can be correct as well. Thank you so much for the follow. Yeah, it was mentioned cultural being like going to museum. Yeah, that might be correct. So let's continue further to understand better what she means. But maybe it's something like that, like you have kind of like not introduce culture into your life, but do like cultural things. That could be actually something that would make sense. Okay, so let's continue with the rest and then we will understand better. So we have tega. Tega is one way of saying me in Korean. However, since there is like this particle, right, that is the subject particle, it makes it more an emphasis on herself. Okay, so it is something like the main subject of the sentence is herself. So she is talking about something about herself, basically. Thank you so much for the follow and the like. Thank you, thank you. Okay, so let's continue. We have tega, which is me. However, it is in the formal tense, right? So you know that the sentence is going to be ending in either in 요, 합니다, 힘니다, 씁니다. If it would be casual, it would be 내가. So you have probably seen that right before. 내가, blah, blah, blah in dramas. So tega is the same version, but in formal version. Then we have 수업에서. So does any of you guys know what 수업 would mean? Comment down below if you have probably seen this word before, right? So comment down below if you guys know what 수업 would mean. So this is a word that is associated with learning. So that can be, right, one way to translate. So it is related to learning. So comment down below if you guys know the meaning of 수업. Comment down below. I'm going to give you a few more answers if you guys want to try and see and guess actually what the 수업 would mean. I'm going to give you the answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So I see a lot of correct answers. So technically this word could have two meanings. The first one would be class, like you guys said, or it can also be lesson. So you can use it in class or lesson. Here in this case, since we are not having a class with her, right? She is more explaining it in the way of a lesson. Okay, so that would be also another way. But here we have eso, which is a particle of time or location. So maybe class could be actually accurate in this case. Yes, I think here it is more like class. Thank you so much for the follow. Thank you. But it can also be lesson depending on the context of the sentence. So we have the eso particle that you guys are probably very familiar with in my other Korean study live streams. So we know that it is a location or a time. So most of the time it is like at or in. That is another way that you can translate that. But the most important part that you need to remember that it either means that someone is coming from a location or there is a specific action happening at the location. So I think in this case, we will see the action verb later in the sentence, okay? But we know that there is something happening in the class or the lesson, however you want to translate that. We have 문화 once again, that is culture, okay? 문화, culture. And then we have 시설에. So 시설에 is a location, right? Since we have the 에 particle, does any of you guys know what 시설 would mean? Comment down below if you guys know the meaning of the word 시설. Comment down below. I'm gonna give you a few seconds to try and guess what 시설 would mean. Does any of you guys know? Comment down below if you know the meaning of this word. So comment down below. We know that it is like a location. So, right, it is something that is a location probably associated with culture. I'm assuming facility maybe. Yeah, I think it's like maybe a cultural facility, not building. Wait. 시설. Yes, you are correct. It is facility. Or installation, but facility would be the most correct way of translating that word. They also say plant, but in this context, it is definitely not plant. So here, right, it is facilities that are cultural. So cultural facilities. Okay. We have 대해. 대해 is a way to say about. Okay. So about this part. So the thing that you need to remember about 대해 is that it will always be found after the reason why you are using this word. So we have seen, right, a few other words that have the same principle. So they will always be found after, even though in English, it would be like completely the opposite. So, right, in English, you would be talking about cultural facilities, right? But in Korean, it would be cultural facilities about. Right? So this can be, very confusing at first, but you need to remember that it is always found after. Sorry, what was 대해? So 대해 is used when you want to say about. So about cultural facilities. That would be how you can translate this first part. And then we have 이야기를. So do you guys remember what 이야기 would mean? Comment down below if you guys remember. Technically, it comes from the verb 이야기하다. Does any of you guys know the meaning of 이야기를 in this context? Comment down below if you guys know what that means. So this is a verb that we have seen a couple of times before. 이야기를. So it is from the verb 이야기하다. So comment down below if you guys know what this verb would mean. So especially if you listen to those type of Korean podcasts, you will often see this word when the person is introducing the subject of the video. So that is another way to remember, right? This one. So I see a lot of great answer. You guys are doing amazingly. So 이야기 is from the verb 이야기하다, which is to speak or to talk. So in this case, whenever you watch Korean podcasts like that, and they are introducing the subject of the podcast, they will always be saying what the podcast is about, 대해, about, and talking. To conversate, yes, that is correct. So here in this case, like you guys are probably aware, okay, you see that it is not at the end of the sentence, right? So since it is not at the end of the sentence, it means that technically it doesn't have a purpose. You just said yes, like Lara? What? Lara from Cat's Eye? Really? Anyways, what did I wanted to say? I don't remember. But as I was saying, okay, this one technically doesn't have the purpose. Yes, it's a meme. LOL, sorry. It's okay, no worries. I don't think I have seen that meme, but that makes sense. Maybe I have seen it, but I just don't remember. However, yes, 이야기. Sorry, sometimes I get not confused, but my brain is all over the place, so I need to center myself. So like I mentioned, in this case, it doesn't have the purpose of a verb anymore, so it's more like a noun, I guess, right? It's more of a word. In English, you can translate that to ing. So about, okay, so talking about cultural facilities. That can be how you can translate this part. We have hataka, right, from the verb hada, doing, and going to. So it's basically saying that like in this class or in this lesson, okay, she is going to she or I am going to talk about cultural facilities. So that would be how this first part of the sentence is translated. So it is very much more difficult than what we normally go through. So let me translate once again, word by word, to make sure that you understand the first part of the sentence before we jump to the next one. So I, in this class or lesson, culture facilities, about, talk, going to do. Hello, okay, thank you so much for being here today. How are you doing? So this is very difficult, but let's jump to the second part of the sentence. So we have 문화가 있는 날. So 문화, we know that it is culture. 있는 is from the verb 있다, to be or to have. And then we have 날. Does any of you guys know what 날 would mean? Comment down below if you guys know what 날 would mean. So I'm not sure if you have seen it before, but if you guys are familiar with Hanja, you might know the meaning of 날. So comment down below Okay, what 날 would mean. I'm gonna give you a few more seconds to comment down below the meaning of 날. So I see a lot of great answer. Okay, I'm gonna give you the answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you guys are correct. So 날 would mean day. So basically, it's saying that there is, right, a cultural day. Okay, cultural day. That would be like mostly how we can translate that. So maybe there is some type of cultural day in Korea. I am not quite sure where, you do something related to culture. But let me just go here so that you guys can follow along as well. Okay, no. Okay, yes. So cultural day, okay? That is how you can say that. We have the e particle. So once again, it is a location or a time. So in this case, it is more related to time, okay? And then we have 대해서. So what does 대해서 would mean if we have seen, if it has the same meaning of 대해. So what does 대해서 would mean? Comment down below what 대해서 would mean. Does any of you guys know the meaning of 대해서? Comment down below if you guys know what that would mean. Does any of you guys know the answer of 대해서? Comment down below if you guys know what that would mean. If it has the same meaning of 대해, just above right here. If you guys remember what I mentioned before, what would that mean? Comment down below if you guys know 대해서, what that would mean. So I'm gonna give you the answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I see a lot of great answer, and especially one from Kokito. I'm not sure if that is how you pronounce your username, but yes, that is correct. So 대해 technically is about, we have this whole particle that I have explained to you guys a few times before if you were there previously in my Korean study live. So whenever you add 서 to either a noun, a verb, an adjective, okay, it basically makes it a cause automatically. So like some people said, it can mean so, or because, okay? So that can be why you add the so. So technically she is not saying like because or so. However, since she is adding this slight particle, okay, it makes it like she wants us to think that she is saying it that way. So hopefully it makes sense for you guys. So in this case, okay, you can translate that to so, about, or so because, okay? So that would be how you can translate this first part. So it's as if the sentence was split in 2 different parts. So this first part, okay? So here it would be like cultural day, about, so, blah, blah, blah. This might not make any sense right now, but I swear when we will continue to translate this one, it will make more sense. I switched them, haha. What did you switch? I'm not sure. Oh, maybe I missed your comment. So about, yes, I mean, technically that could make sense. So about, that could make sense. But technically 대해 is about and so make it so. Loving the lesson so far. Thank you. Really, really appreciate it. Like technically this is the first time that we are doing together an intermediate level one. So I think it takes me a little bit more of, how can I say that, time to adapt to this format compared to the other ones. So thank you so much for staying with me, even though I'm struggling a little bit because I am not used to studying that way with you guys. Like I understand the meaning of the sentence, but having to explain everything one by one is a little bit harder for me right now. So I am trying my best. So here we have a verb that is technically a complexion of 2 verbs, okay? So here we have 알아. Does any of you guys know what this verb means? So let's split it in 2, okay? Let's go see the first part of this verb. Does any of you guys know what 알아 would mean? If you guys know, it is from the verb 알다. So comment down below if you guys know. I'm starting to understand more. I needed a teacher besides my solo studies. Oh, I'm happy to hear that you are understanding more. Really, really appreciate it. And thank you so much for taking the time to be here very, very often. I'm happy to hear that you are learning a lot through those Korean study podcasts, which is, my goal to do that with you guys. So I'm gonna give you the answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so you guys are correct. So the first part of this verb is to know. To show you, to teach, or to give information. Yes, that would be correct. Okay. But technically here it's 벌수, not 불수. So 알아 is to know, okay? Or to learn depending on the context, okay? So that can be 알아, to know, or to some type of learning something. Sorry, misspelled. It's okay, no worries. And then we have here 볼 수 있는. So technically we have here from the verb 보다, to see. However, it is complex to this one, right? We have 수 있는. So depending on the context of the sentence, sometimes it can be translated to like trying. But here in this case, it would be more like learning together, because we have 수 있는, which is normally know how to or can do something. So here it's more about because know how to learn technically would be like the correct translation directly, but it doesn't make sense in English. So I'm trying to figure it out a way to explain it better. Yeah, I guess the best way to explain that in English would be to learn, okay? However, technically it is basically like can learn. It's like giving info or teaching. Yeah, exactly. So that would be a better way to explain it. However, like the direct translation word to word wouldn't make sense in English. However, like Maya said, that would be more like to show information or to give information. That would be correct. After that, okay, we have 기회가, yeah, which is, does any of you guys know the meaning of that word? Even though it is written down below, but does any of you guys know what this word would mean in this case? Comment down below, okay? Comment down below if you guys know what this word would mean. It is very, very important because it is used very, very often. Plans, it is very, very similar to plan, but it is not exactly that one, right? Plan would be more like, let me just write it for you guys to see the difference. So it is I always have trouble to find it. Okay. So this would be the word, right? That is plan. So you see how very similar that is. But technically, this is different, right? So here, 기회, and then 계획. Very, very different. No, very, very similar. Sorry, very similar, but they don't have the same meaning. So here, in this case, it means opportunity. Okay, so this is the word that is used for opportunity, but it is very, very similar to planning, right? Thank you so much for the follow. Thank you. Okay, and then we have the verb 있어서요. So it is from the verb, once again, 있다, to be or to have. So it's basically saying that, right, during the cultural day, okay, it was an opportunity to like learn, right, about cultural day, okay. Yes, because this sentence is 2 parts, sorry. I forgot that this is the same sentence. Past tense, yes, exactly. Since there is here, technically, you guys know that when there is a double shiot, it is in the past tense. However, this tense already have in original tense, okay? So the verb stem itself already has a double shiot. So in this case, if the verb stem is with the double 시옷, you need to add it a second time to make it in the past. So yes, so that would be how you would conjugate this verb in the past tense. Girl, you're so 예뻐. 고마워요. Thank you so much for the follow and the like. Thank you. Okay, so now that would make so much sense. So, right, during her class, okay, she had to talk, okay? Yes, she had to talk about cultural facilities, okay? Which she had, okay, the opportunity to learn about that during cultural day. No, sorry. 제가 수업에서는 문화 선에서 하다가 문화 있는 날 있었어요. Somehow I have a very difficult time to explain that sentence in English. So it's so long. Yes, and it is very, very confusing because there are things that I am not like familiar with, like cultural day, like the thing that I don't understand, right? So she was talking about cultural facilities, but is she just talking about like museum or things like that, right? So because she was talking about that, that is when she learned more about cultural day. Is that what she is saying? Down there, the full sentence is written. Yes, it is written, but I still have like, the thing is that I'm not sure I understand like what it means in English, if that makes sense. Because even here, right, while I was talking about cultural facilities in class, I had the opportunity to learn about culture day. So yeah, maybe like everyone in her class was talking about different like buildings associated with like culture, like museums, things like that. So that's probably what she wants to say. Or if you guys have a better way of explaining that, please let me know, because even in English, in my brain, it doesn't make sense. Like, okay, she learned about Culture Day through her talking about cultural facilities. Maybe she didn't know there was a cultural day. Anyways, let's jump to the next one. Maybe we'll be able to understand better what she means by that sentence. However, I will need to remove the subtitles. It's making sense. So just also for you guys to know, English is not my first language. So sometimes, okay, my brain gets confused because I am bilingual. Like, I know how to speak English, as you guys probably can tell. However, I don't know every word. So that is sometimes very confusing, because what does even mean cultural facilities? Is it like museum, things like that? That is why my brain is like freeze right now. So let's jump to the next question. Next sentence, maybe we will be able to understand better. So let's hear it first.
대해서 알아볼 수 있는 기회가 있었어요. 수업에서 정말 재미있게 이야기하고 유용한 정보가 많아서 팟캐스트에서 여러분과 함께 이야기하고 싶어졌어요.
Okay, so let's repeat that sentence together, right? 수업에서 정말 재미있게 이야기하고 유용한 정보가 많아서 팟캐스트에서 여러분과 함께 이야기하고 싶어졌어요. Okay, so let's translate that sentence together. Maybe this one will be slightly easier. So we have 수업에서. Does any of you guys remember what that would mean together? So we know that 수업 either means class or lesson. So what would it mean with 에서 particle? Comment down below. Right, if you guys would know with the eso particle what it changes to the word 수업, comment down below if you guys know what that would mean while I drink a little bit of water because my throat is very dry. to plug in my mic. Hopefully the sound is better. I don't know. My brain is not there today. Very sorry about that. So maybe the sound will be better. I was speaking in my mic, but I guess it was not connected. Very sorry about that. From class, but in English, not a good translation, so it's in class. Yes, exactly. That would be correct. However, the SO particle can also be associated sometimes with in or at. So that could be also other translations that we can use with the SO particle. However, something that people didn't mention is the very important thing that we need to remember with the SO particle, that there is some type of action happening inside the class, okay? So we will see it later, but there is some type of action, so action verbs that are used in this sentence. So that is also giving us a small clues of something is happening in the class. So let's continue. We have 정말. So we have seen that word a lot of times in my previous Korean podcast studies. So what does 정말 mean? Comment down below if you guys remember what 정말 would mean. Comment down below if you guys know the meaning of 정말. So we have seen it a lot of times before. So I'm trying to see if you guys remember what 정말 would mean. Comment down below. I'm going to give you the answer in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So you guys are correct. I see a lot of great answers as usually. So 정말 is an emphasis that either means really or very. So you want to use that word when you want to emphasize something, which in this case is this. So also the emphasis, okay, something that is very important to remember, it is placed before the emphasizing part, okay? So compared to this, which is placed after, the emphasis is always placed before the verb most of the time, which is here, right? 재밌게. So this is from the verb 재밌다. Does any of you guys know the meaning of that verb? Comment down below, right? If you guys know what that would mean, 재밌게, comment down below. You have probably seen it, right? This verb before. This is probably one of the first verbs that you might learn in Korean because they add it a lot of times. So comment down below the answer of 재밌게. So here technically in this case, you guys know that I always say it when there is a double 시옷. It is in the past tense. However, this comes from the verb stem itself. So it stays in present tense. So just like this verb, if you want to make it in the past tense, you would need to add another double 시옷 to make it in the past tense. However, just like that, it is in the present tense. Okay, so here, that would be, you guys are correct. The answer is to be fun, okay? So it is really fun. That is something, right, that you can translate to. So really or very fun. Okay, what is that? So it depends because it's like ly, so like fun, like here it translates to weird, but it's like words like slowly, quickly. Yeah, that would be correct. So it can transform into, I think it's adverbs, what you're trying to say. I think things ending in ly are adverbs, if I'm not mistaken. But yes, in this case, it would be weird. Yeah, adverbs, exactly. So technically in this context, right, it is not used as a verb itself. Okay, it is more used in an adverb. However, I don't think there is really, you cannot create an adverb with fun in English, right? Funly, that doesn't make sense. But in Korean, that is something that is possible with verbs. So that's when it gets very confusing. We don't have it in English, haha. Yes, exactly. So there is no direct translation to English for that besides just fun. However, we know that here technically it doesn't have the purpose of a verb anymore, but it transformed into an adverb. So yeah, it transformed into adverb. However, because since it's something that doesn't exist in English, it's also very difficult to explain it like as an adverb. But all you gotta know is that here it's more like really fun. So something that is really fun. That is also something that you can say, right? Fun like? Yeah, exactly. So you can either say like fun like, or also you can kind of say like something fun. That is also another way that you can also kind of translate that too. And then we have 이야기하고. Okay. So here, this is a very confusing part maybe for some people, okay? So here we have from the verb 이야기하다 once again, which is to speak or to talk. However, some people might see it as 이야기 and then 하고. However, that is not correct. Technically, the split is here. So the ha part is coming from the verb 이야기하다. Okay, so this is one part, and then the go is alone on its own. Yes, that would be correct, Maya. So here the go is one of the ways that you can use to say, how can I say that? To say and in English, okay? So this is one of the ways that you can use to say and in English. However, it is only used with either verbs, adjectives, or actions. So that is when it can get confusing because, for example, you wouldn't be able to use it with just like regular noun, okay? Or people. You cannot just use go. You would need to either use 하고랑 과와, but 과와 is more like formal and written. But yes. So here in this case, okay, you need to remember that 이야기하 is together and the go is on its own. So it's not like 하고 to make it understand better. So hopefully this is making sense to you guys, okay? So remember, 이야기하 is together because all the verbs ending in hada, right? It splits before the da. So ha part is always with the verb stem. Okay, and the rest is omitted. So the da part would be omitted in this case, but the ha part with verbs in hada stays there. Okay, let's continue with here. We have 유용한. So technically, this is from a verb once again that is translated in, I think, an adjective in English. That is something that it can be quite confusing for me as someone that, English is not my first language, so it's like my second language. So for example, in Korean, what is very interesting is that you can basically put any, like most verbs into like nouns, adjectives, adverbs, all those verbs. But in English, this doesn't really work that way. So sometimes it's confusing for my brain to know like which category of word that would translate to. But I'm pretty sure that in this case, it would be more like an adjective, if I'm not mistaken, right? Whenever you add this letter to it. Does any of you guys know what this verb would mean? Comment down below. Thank you so much for the follow. Thank you. So I think I'm not sure we will have time to finish this sentence, but let's try our best. I'm not sure what this verb would mean. So let me just see if any of you guys know what 유용한 would mean. It is not, because some people might get, how can I say that? Might get confused with the verb to be famous, which is very similar. However, this is not the same. So let me just try to write it on my computer. Wait, where is the 요? Okay. 유용한. 하다, technically. To, useful. To misuse, to divert, to misappropriate. 유용한. To, not sure. I think important. I'm confused at Hangul and how to pronounce. So are you like confused with like 받침? Or is that what you have a hard time to? Important, you tell, important. Oh wait, not important, I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure if in this case it would mean important. Because I know there is another word that is very, maybe it can be like useful though. That would make sense. Let me just confirm with papago. Maybe with like, if I just write han, just like that. Maybe, yes, useful. Okay, yes. So I'm not sure practical, useful. That would be correct, but as a verb, I'm not sure which verb that would mean. But as an adjective, this would mean useful. So let me write that because that is an useful word. That is useful. So let me write it down. Okay, useful, yes. So that would be useful as an adjective, but as a verb, because it's not technically the verb to use, so I'm not sure if what is the meaning of the verb itself, but as an adjective, it means to be useful. So, okay, we know that. And then we have 통복하. So I know that most of the time the words with 통 is used with like a duration, something of duration. But once again, I'm not sure. 통보, what would that mean? A lot of words that I have not used before. Information, data. Okay, so it's more like data. Detail, file. Okay, a lot of very words that I'm not sure I'm gonna be using in my life, but right, let's write that down as well. So it's basically saying like useful information or useful data. Okay, so that would be something that is very, how can I say that? In French, it's like poussé, right? Advanced language. I feel like this is very advanced language, not in like Korean language, but more like formal language that I will maybe never use, but it's okay. And then we have 만나서, which is from the verb manda, to be many or a lot. We have the 서 particle. So if you guys were there previously when I explained this part, does any of you guys remember what that would mean when you add 서 to either a verb, adjective, or any sort of those words? Does any of you guys would remember what that means? When you add that to anything, what does it make it? Does any of you guys remember? Right? It might be a little bit difficult, right? I feel like our brain is on fire today. I don't know about you guys, but mine is. Sorry about that. I'm still a little bit sick. So does any of you guys remember what that would mean when you add this whole particle to either a verb, adjective, or any sort of those words? Comment down below if you guys know what that would mean. I'm gonna give you the answer very, very soon. Okay, but comment down below if you remember. I'm gonna give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Yes, exactly. Kokito is correct. Thank you so much for the follow. Thank you. So in this case, like I mentioned earlier, most of the time she is not especially saying this word, right? But she is giving the intention that it means either so or because. So technically it is not but. However, it's more like because. So this is a cause or a reason to something. And then most of the time, the result will be down below. But she is kind of explaining to us a cause to something. Okay? So, yes, exactly. That would be correct. So this is the cause just right here. So because, okay, like this is a lot, like many, a lot of important information, and okay, and like in a fun subject to talk about during class, a really fun class. Okay, yeah, it's more like, I feel like it's more like subject, even though she's not saying like such subject, but she is saying that it's like a really fun things to talk about in the class, okay, and very important information. That would be a little bit how you can translate this part. If you guys have a better way of explaining that in English, please comment down below. But that would basically be like, right, the first part. So because technically in English would always comes first. However, in English, Korean, we know that it always comes last of the first part of the sentence. So because, okay, it is something or subject, right, that is really fun to talk about during class or in class, and a lot of important information. Okay, so it's not only just fun, but it's also, something that is interesting to learn about. Okay, interesting to learn about and important information as well in general. So that is a little bit how you can translate this first part of the sentence. This is a lot of information, right? Just like tombo, a lot of information. Sorry, but tomboka is information. I don't understand the pronunciation in English. Yes, exactly. So it could mean like information or data. So like scientific when scientists, sorry, not scientific. Scientists, when they collect all the information together, right? It's considered like data. So it's like all the information, like everything that is important to know information. I don't know how to translate information, but not great at explaining English word, but yes. 정부 and ka particle. Yes, exactly. So it kind of makes it the subject of the sentence because this is like the subject particle, okay? So it's like important information. Okay, so she is saying like technically, okay, like information can be associated with the what she is talking about, right? The culture day or something like that. Okay? Or the culture day or just cultural things in general, cultural facilities as well. So you can kind of think of the information, right, as what you need to know about this right here. So that is another way that you can view this word tomboka. So information, it's not literally like data, like scientists or things like that, but more like the information that you gain from this, which is either like everything about the cultural day or the cultural facilities. So that would be how you can mostly translate that. For today, I think we will have to stop right here because my brain is fried and we might continue tomorrow with this part, or I might try to find another subject because I thought she would just talk about like culture in Korea, but not at all. So let me know, do you guys want to continue this podcast tomorrow, or do you want me to find one with a more interesting subject? Not more interesting because all subjects are interesting, but a subject that is maybe easier to understand, because I don't know a lot about those words. So please comment down below if you guys want me to either continue that one tomorrow, or should I pick another intermediate level podcast that is more light-hearted. Yes. Please comment down below and let me know. Thank you so much for the follow. Also, just before we go, pick another. Okay. That is a very straightforward answer, but I like that. A little harder. So you want one that is a little harder or it's a little hard, this one? Please let me know. But before also I go, I just wanted to do Cozy Cafe in Korean. Is it like an account? Like is it called Cozy Cafe in Korean, or is it from Chesusu? Yeah, more intermediate. Okay, so you want I want to go over 싶어져서. Yes. So here in this case, okay, let's do very quickly. 싶어져서. So technically, this is from the verb 싶다, right? To want to. And then here, this part is in the past tense. So let me just double check what it makes it like in English, the translation to that. So like verb plus soil. But it's like a tense of like a way of explaining past tense. In English, I'm not quite sure how to translate that to. Let me just see. Okay, yes. So it is a complexion, sorry, of technically it's like an adjective. So here in this case, it's not like a verb itself, but more like an adjective. So wanted to, and but like they say here, it's used to express the change or the state that happened in the past. Okay, so it's more like she wanted to in the past. Does that make sense? Chita, to become. Yeah. So to become, however, it was like it's something that like has changed and is in the past. Use to express the change of state happened in the past. So like they say, it's like a passive form. Like for example, it's like was turned off. That can be one way. But here it's more like wanted to. Okay. Because here they're saying different things. So it makes it more. So like, you know, the verbs ending in ER, but in here they're saying like it's a change of state. I'm not quite sure. I think what I'm gonna do, wanted to speak with the others on podcasts. She started wanting to talk about these things. Yeah. 싶어서, I get it now. Is used when something happens gradually, commonly used with 점점, little by little. Okay, so hopefully it makes sense. I think I might just check that more today and let you guys know, like with the 싶어, right? What does it make it more like? Because technically it's like as if it's double past tense, right? For example, here they say like was spilled out. So it's as if it's like double past tense. So like was wanted, that doesn't make sense. Okay, so let's see. Quite literally started to want to do. Yeah, that's what I think. It's like something podcast made them want to talk with everyone. Yeah. So I think it's just like, hi, hello, thank you so much for being here again. Sorry about that. So yes, I think it's more like, you know, that is something that they wanted to talk about, that they really wanted to talk about. Okay, yeah. In this context, it's definitely more like they wanted to talk about this together with us. Okay, because in this podcast, okay, very quickly, in this podcast, okay, with everyone, okay, together, she wanted to talk, okay, about these things with us together in this podcast. So that would be like basically how you would translate this part, right? So because this is something that is like important information and a very fun subject to talk about, that is why she wanted to talk to us about this subject together in this podcast, on the podcast. So yes, that would be like how we can say that. So hopefully it makes more sense, right? On the podcast, we would say that. Yes. Yeah, because of the podcast. Yeah. Okay, so hopefully now it makes more sense to all of you guys. Okay, so definitely tomorrow we will do another one because this one got very confusing for me, as these are not necessarily words that I am familiar with. So hopefully you guys still enjoyed this very messy Korean study live stream, but at least we learned a lot of things. The person wanted to talk with the people on the podcast. I'm not sure I understand that. It's implied that it's because of the podcast that she started to want to talk about those things. It's okay, we stay together for a reason. Yeah, exactly. It is because, oh my god, people are saying different things. So let me just see. Okay, I'm gonna open my little friend. Okay. So yes, here it's saying, okay, the class was really fun and there was a lot of useful information. Okay, so here technically it could be like, okay, because the class was really fun and there was a lot of useful information, I wanted to talk with you about this on the podcast. But for me, in the podcast would make more sense. But English is not my first language, so it's maybe just on the podcast. But yes. Okay, it's very confusing. It's not an expression used in many languages. Yeah, exactly, because my first language is French and my second language is English. And these are not expressions I feel that are used in both languages. So for me, it is harder to understand the process of that. As in, you're here doing the podcast as a host. That is very confusing. But yeah, we know that since there is the SO particle, it basically here it kind of makes it that there is an action happening, right? Because technically, like the way I would view it, right? It's kind of like seeing like not inside the podcast, but like, not during the podcast, but right, that I don't know how to explain that in English. It is confusing. It is definitely confusing. It's probably the most confusing thing we have seen in my life so far. Chita ending is used because she stated reasons which resulted in her wanting to talk about that. Okay, perfect. Thank you so much for confirming that. But that would make sense, right? Because in Korean, the reason or the cause to something, always comes before the result. So it's kind of like the result is that she wanted to talk to us about this subject, right? On the podcast or in the podcast, however you prefer. And then here is like the cause and the reason why she decided to do that with us. So that would make sense. I see so many new names now. Yeah, I think a lot of new people joining us today. That is amazing. She didn't always want to talk about that. Yeah, exactly. That would make sense. So the this ending part, right, makes it more like, she wanted to do that, but it's not like she always wanted to do that. She only wanted to do that because of this reason right here. So it's kind of like the result is right here, right? She is talking about this subject on this podcast, okay? But it's kind of saying that the reason why she decided to do that is because of this, basically. So hopefully this would make so much more sense. She started to want to do it. Yeah, exactly. So it's like she has not always wanted to do that, right? So it's just because of this reason above that this is when she decided that she wanted to do that. Thank you for taking the time to learn with us. I learn new words every time. Thanks to you. Oh, thank you so much, Merv. I really, really appreciate it. And I'm happy to hear that you are learning a lot through those Korean podcasts. Even myself, I am learning a lot just like right now. So that is amazing. Got it. I thought that because of a podcast, she wanted to talk with everyone. I misread. Thank you. Yeah, so it's basically like the opposite because of this information right here, right? That is when she decided that she wanted to talk about this subject. But before, it was not in her mind. But after her class, right? That is when she was like, oh, that could be an interesting subject to talk about on my podcast, basically. That would be another way that we can say that, right? More easily. Thank you so much for the follow. And also, I completely understand how it's very easy to misunderstand Korean because the sentence structure is completely different from like English, for example. So it's very easily to misunderstand some parts, right? Because sometimes you can view it one way, but just by the way it is, either the tense of the verbs or just like the places of each word can mean something completely different. So it's very easy to get lost. Stuff they talk in the class was interesting, useful. Yeah, exactly. I'm actually really glad we went over that. Yeah, that was very complex, but now that we got it out, right, we all understand better. So they wanted to talk about it with everyone on the podcast. Yes. I'm so glad you took my request to do intermediate as well. I wouldn't be able to learn by myself. Ah, you changed your name, right? Is that why? I think you changed your picture and your name, if I'm not mistaken. Because I was like, oh, the person who requested, I don't think she's here. But yes. Yeah, I was like, oh, Nia is not here today, but she's the one that requested. I'm happy to hear that you were here today. Thank you so much for taking the time. I think because of the lack of pronounce, it's confusing. I didn't realize the podcast was hers. Ah, yes, exactly. So the podcast is hers. And the thing is, Korean is very confusing sometimes because they often omit pronounce, which is not something that we do in English. So it definitely gets not like more confusing, right? I totally forgot. It's okay, no worries. I'm happy to hear that you are able to make it today. Very, very happy. And now I know that you changed your name and your picture, so that will be easier for me to remember you. Also, before we go for today, I just wanted to let you guys know that I have something new and exciting that I wanted to share with you guys today. Okay, so next Friday, this Friday in 3 days, I'm launching a brand new Korean learning tip video that will go out every Friday. So basically, each Friday, I will be giving you one quick Korean tip to learn Korean. So whether it is like specific grammar pattern, just like this one that you want me to cover, or just vocabulary word that you have trouble pronouncing, or anything to help you. So the thing that is very interesting about that is that basically each tip will be based on you guys. So it is based on your own questions. So right now, if you guys have anything that you want me to cover this Friday, please comment right now. What are the things that you want me to cover in this Korean Friday tip? So this is something that will go on every Friday. Okay. So that's going to be very, very interesting. And I will be asking you guys your opinion on every Tuesday. So if you want to make sure to not miss a chance to get featured in my Friday Korean video, okay, tip video that I will be posting, make sure to join our Korean podcast each Tuesday. So if you guys have any questions right now that you want me to cover this Friday, so whether it is something that you are confused about or things you are struggling with your Korean learning, okay, you can drop them just right here and you might get a chance to be featured in this Friday video. So this is your chance to get a tip that is really tailored to you, because I just want to help you and for you to be able to grow and understand better. So if you guys have any recommendations of things you want me to do this Friday, please comment down below. If you don't have anything that you want me to cover especially, then I will choose by myself. But right now I'm giving you the opportunity to get a little bit, the chance to pick this week's topic. So yes, comment down below if you have anything that you want me specifically. So you guys can comment about anything and I will make sure to choose before this Friday. Adverbs and sequential sentences. So is there anything like specific about that you want me to cover? Okay, because this is going to be a short video about like 20 to 30 seconds. So it needs to be a little bit specific for me to be able to give you a better video of explaining to the maximum, right? Okay, so comment down below some verbs. Which type of verbs? Or like, are you talking about conjugation of verbs? So comment down below and I will take some screenshots and you might be featured in this week's video. If not, like I said, I will be choosing by myself. So I give you the opportunity to have me cover a subject and give you tips to understand that better. So comment down below if there is anything in particular that you want me to cover for this Friday. So this is a new series that I decided to create based on you guys. So this will be up every Friday on my TikTok channel with particles work, but because there are some for months, days, subject, object. So are you talking about counters? Is that like what you are seeing about the particles, or just uncommon adverbs like connectors, like taka, so? Okay, so you guys would want things like that. I'm gonna take some screenshots just to make sure that I have everything written down below. Okay, 잠시만요. Okay, counters are always nice to learn. Okay, so I can also maybe try to find tips for counters. I will choose one topic between all those that you guys suggested for this Friday. We will see each other once again tomorrow at the same time. I will pick another subject. It will be intermediate as well. However, it will be another subject that might be with words that we are either more familiar or things that for me will be easier to explain to you guys. So thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. If you guys have any questions right now, I can answer very quickly. But if you guys don't have any questions, I will go for right now. Wait, I forgot what I wanted to say. It's okay, no worries. I can wait a couple more minutes until you remember what you wanted to say. Okay, so do you guys have any more questions for today? That was a very, very interesting Korean podcast, right? That kind of fried my brain. My brain is not working anymore. But yes. No, it's okay. I'll tell you next live if I remember. Okay, perfect. No worries. So I wish you guys an amazing day, and I'm so happy for everyone that was able to make it today. I saw a lot of new names, which I'm very, very grateful, and we will see each other again tomorrow at the same time. Okay? So sorry. 안녕히 계세요, 여러분. 안녕. 안녕.